Welcome, guys, to the very first episode of the Two Pelicans podcast. I'm Joey.
And I'm Mick, and we're the Two Pelicans.
This is the fishing podcast, making fishing great again, and we're here to get the weekend angler through his work week and put a smile on his dial, Mick.
That's the whole purpose of this little podcast, is to actually get out there and just talk shit about fishing. From tournaments to the weekend warrior and everything in between.
And that's a really good point, man, is like there's so much seriousness out there in the whole world, let alone the fishing world. And I think there's so much emphasis on like the tournament angle. You got to have $1,000 boat, you got to do this, you got to have that, you got to have all this fancy gear. Yeah. We want to talk about the dude that takes his son just over here, down to the river, with a prawn and catches some bream on the weekend, you know?
Yep, 100%. And I think this podcast will give us the ability over time to catch up with some of these people, people's in our yarns to come. So can't wait.
So basically, guys, this episode, it's just going to be a straight out what to expect moving forward. What are the Two Pelicans, what we stand for, like we've just mentioned, and what you're going to expect each week or each 2 weeks probably for now when you tune in. So Mick, let's dive in and tell these viewers what they're going to expect.
Look, well, hopefully we're going to get something to you at least once a week. Obviously, with Joey's commitments and my commitments, we are running around the countryside doing all our other hustles. So, but yeah, we're going to try and deliver one of these once a week.
That's the goal, and we don't want to skimp either. Like, we want to keep the quality up there, and obviously we don't have a switch bitch over there in the background pressing buttons. Like, we might drop a photo in here or follow us. We'll talk about that later on. But the setup that we've got here right now, she is pretty rough and ready, mate. But, we're doing our best, and we're going to try and bring you some pretty high quality content.
Yeah, no, that's it. So we're going to talk things from, like I said before, from tournaments all the way through to products to what some of the guys are catching. Could be in the Clarence River, just next to us right here. So at the moment, we've decided to occupy the Brushy Pub for the afternoon. So thanks, Glenn Clark, for that.
Yeah, great sponsorship for the afternoon to put us on here and feed us free beers all afternoon. So big shout out to the crew here. Really muchly appreciated. Mate, right, let's just jump straight in. What are these guys going to see each week when our podcast drops? What are they going to expect? What's going to be our run sheet? What's going to be the start?
Yeah, look, I think we're going to talk about new things that come out every week with fishing or products or something like that. And essentially, what we're going to do is probably talk about some of the tougher topics around fishing and tournament fishing. So I think at the moment there's not much discussion around that. And I think, things around from, MLF through to the Blue Groper. I think we're going to cover it all.
Yeah, and that sort of jumps through to my point is there's so much negativity around fishing at the moment. Like the greens, if they all had their way, they'd lock us out. That's obviously a very touchy subject as well with a lot of people. So like you mentioned, the Blue Groper thing, there's so much negativity around it. So if we can bring maybe some good stories out and talk about subjects and our opinions, and that's exactly what they are though. They're our opinions.
That's right. And look, our opinions may not align, I guess, with everyone from time to time, and that's okay. But I think, we'd like to bring these topics of conversation up and have a bit of a discussion through social media about your thoughts on some of these topics.
And that's a really good spot to dive in is too, like, these are our opinions from two average blokes. We're not like high up in fisheries. Mick's not the world's best brim fisherman, although he probably wishes he was. We're not like U-Butte people, we're just average, regular Joe Blows. But we'll dive into that a little bit later on about us. But when you touched on the news segment there, Mick, basically what we're going to try and do is each week is bring to you new products from different companies. Like, we're not biased here. We'll talk about Shimano, Daiwa, Rapala, Berkeley, all the big players. We're going to talk about it because if you haven't got your head buried in your phone 24 hours a day, you wouldn't know that this stuff's out there. So we're going to try and just bring those new products up.
Yeah. And look, let's face it, there's stuff coming out all the time, and I know I, for one, don't always see what's coming out. So sort of rely on third-party social media or mates or whatever saying, well, have you seen this? So I think that's what we want to do. We want to bring that to the segment, and hopefully we can have some discussions around that.
And now, off the back of the news, guys, if you know of anyone, big or small organisation, whether there's 50 people in it or 5 people, we don't care. If there's an event on, if it's a Clean Up Australia Day or for the marine waterways or whatever it might be, a small little fishing comp, club comp, whatever it is, I don't care whether it's in Darwin, Western Australia, wherever it is, guys. Drop us an email. We'll give you all the details here later on. We'll talk you all through that. But even if Pat Betsy or whatever down at the Croquet Club overheard the cleaner say that there was a fishing club comp on the weekend, we want to know it. Get Aunt Betsy on the phone, let her know, tell us about it. We need to know this stuff, guys, and I think there's no one really highlighting, say for instance our local club comp here, there's other than them highlighting themselves, who's out there telling everyone, hey, come and join this great club? There's no one doing that.
And I guess one thing where we are at the moment with the Brush Grove Hotel, they actually at the Clarence Valley Sports Fishing Club actually have their meetings here once a month, and they actually start from just on the other side of the river there at Brush Grove for their comps. And look, we've started our own little personal COVID Classic from here as well, and Glenn's always accompanied guys that love fishing, so really appreciative of that.
For sure, yeah, he's been a big supporter, and guys, we can try and make that happen for you. You might be from the, I don't know, Geelong. Is there a river in Geelong? Maybe. You might be from the Geelong Sports Fishing Club, and a pub might be listening and he wants to put you up there. But anyway, that's the whole point of it. We want to try and help everyone out here and get the names out. But that probably wraps up our news segment. What's going to be, you've touched on our topics, Mick, but we might dive into that just a little bit more, our weekly topics that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, look, once again, it's really more around about what might be happening in the fishing world. Some things might just come up out of the blue. Other things have probably sat there for a while, but generally there's been no one really talking about and diving into how some of them things work. So we want to just bring it to the forefront and, get everyone's opinion on what they may think of that back through the media. We'll obviously give our $2 worth, but it's
going to be a really interactive podcast. But we're gonna save that to the end and explain how you can all get involved. It's not going to be just us sitting here. We're going to really want to interact with you guys, because, like you said, there's nowhere out there on a podcast format in Australia where you're not just talking about techniques. Like, everyone's sick to death of podcasts just telling techniques. Like, that's great, but we want to hear about real things. We want to hear it from real fishermen. We want to hear the highs and the lows, the fun times. It's relatable stuff. It's the stuff that we want to talk about and things that you guys are going to want to talk about.
That's 100% right. And I think, like you said, from any sort of fishing club, from the bottom up all the way through to the top, we want to get involved in and hear about.
And don't think, guys, this is just about tournaments, because we'll probably talk about tournaments about 10% of the time. As we'll talk about later, Mick and I just love having a good time fishing, and I think, yet again, that's the whole point of doing this is we want to make fishing great once again, and we're definitely going to give it a red hot crack to do that. So that's going to be all about the weekly topics, and it's probably going to be relatable to the time of year, sort of the topics at the time. Things that are happening.
Definitely. So we're probably not going to talk about bass in close seasons around here. So
no, exactly. Don't expect to hear about that stuff. So anyway, right, let's move on. Next thing is, we just mentioned a little bit how we're going to end the show each week. This is where we're going to interact with you guys. So I'm going to give you the details here in a little minute. But we've got an email set up, and it's just going to be as simple as like a 2 to 3 minute recording of a story. It can be a yarn, it can be an absolute fishing disaster. It can be you watch your mate's boat fall off the trailer at the boat ramp and you just want to have a good laugh and throw him under the bus. It could be about that big fish your son caught on the weekend and you're terribly proud of him and you want to ring up and tell us absolutely anything. You ring up, let us know. Well, voice record, I should say, and just send that through to our email. I'll go through those. Just try to keep it to that 2 to 3 minutes, because, as we said, we've got our own hustles, and I don't want to be.
I think 2 minutes is paramount. We've obviously had a couple come through already, and we all have our go bads. I think that's the biggest thing. We always have a go bad. So.
And that's a really good point, man. It's like you go out, say you take your young bloke out for a day out in the river, and it's been your first day out in 12 months, and the motor, the impeller blocked up and it's not pumping water, and then the bungs are leaking, and then you snap a rod. Like, don't feel bad. This happens to everybody that fishes. So, 100%. And the more you fish, the more shit that breaks. So The whole point of the funny yarns in there, the tales as well, is just to make everyone feel good about themselves. Like, hey, don't feel bad because this happens to everyone. Let's have a laugh about it, you know. So, absolutely any topic. Even if you want to send in a voice recording asking us a question that we can answer on the show, but that's this whole back end of the show is going to be dedicated to that, Nick. It's going to be just talking to these guys, and hopefully in the long run, that's our little bit of us giving back to you guys for supporting us.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you know, we will be looking forward to some of the things. A couple have come through already, and they've just been unbelievable. Just things that you just don't even think you'd ever hear about. So
and that's the thing, we couldn't reach out to you guys yet because we haven't had our platform available, so we just reached out to a fefew close mates, and as you can hear, they're all yarning in the background. We've got a bit of a crowd here, but they might have to get quieten down in a minute. But it's some of the yarns about ourselves, and we forgot this stuff even happened, you know, and you can sit down, have a beer and have a laugh about it, and that is 100% the whole aim of this. So talking about that, how you're going to get involved, guys, the email, we'll talk about, it's going to be on our socials, but the email is just 2, as in the number 2, pelicanspodcast@gmail.com. Super simple. And when you do send in your voice recording, give us a name.
Drop a name.
It could be an alias, it could be Big Fella Barry, Long Fella Larry, whatever you want to be called.
Long
Ron, Disco Davo.
Disco Dave.
That might not be an absolute alias, so we might hear about Disco Dave in a later episode, guys. But the whole thing is, if you're a regular on our show, we want to interact with you, and it'd just be cool to know your name. So 2, the number 2, pelicanspodcast@gmail.com. Send that one into there. Nick, where do people go and listen? Where do they want to listen? If they don't want to watch our visual, which we'll talk about, they want to listen, where are they going to tune in?
So I believe we're going to be on Spotify.
Yes, we are. Might not have informed you on that.
On Spotify, so but maybe you can talk a little bit more about that. I haven't had anything to do with this.
So yet again, guys, same thing on Spotify. 2 Pelicans Podcast. It'll be the number 2 yet again. So that's going to be on there every week. We will release. We just haven't decided on a day yet. We're thinking a Wednesday morning, but we might put a little poll out on our Facebook and Insta when it just gains a little bit of traction before this goes up to see what people are thinking. But I'm a bit of a podcast, I don't know what, I love listening to Tragic, and a lot of the really popular ones, none of them are sort of that midweek, they're spread out, so we might stick with the Wednesday. We don't want to be caught up in everyone else's stuff, so we're probably going to roll with that. Facebook, Insta, of course, yet again, 2 Pelicans Podcast, pretty simple. Head over, give us a follow, we really appreciate it. Just knows that what we're doing is actually getting out there, and it's working. It's not just us sitting here drinking beer. So now this is probably the big one. YouTube now, I'm on YouTube, which we'll probably talk about in a little bit. YouTube's a little bit precious. YouTube doesn't like hearing
the P's and Q's.
The P's and the Q's as such. So just for the time being, we're not actually going to bother with YouTube. We will have a YouTube account for some content that we're going to probably do later on. Don't worry about that. But for now, the best option is going to be Patreon. Now I know what you're thinking. You've got to pay to go on there, yada, yada, yada. But for us, it's going to be such a small amount for you guys to come and watch some entertainment, fully uncut stuff. It's just going to be straight on there, the P's and the Q's, and even maybe some of the stuff we talk about or some of the tales that get called in might not even be suitable for Spotify, and we'll just cut them out of the audio version, Mick, and stick them over on Patreon. And look, that's just to cover us as well. We don't want to upset anyone. If you're paying to go and watch something, you know what you're going to get. It's as simple 100%. As that. Mick, the cost, it's $5 a month.
It's as cheap as it can be on Patreon.
I physically made it as cheap as I could charge on Patreon. It was $5 a month. So
Patreon probably needs to actually review their minimum.
Yeah, look, if it was $2, I would have just made you guys pay $2 because it's not about the money for us. It's just about us having somewhere that you guys can come as a platform and enjoy us as real us, not an edited version. Because let me tell you, today we're filming a few episodes, and if we make it episode 3, she's going to be pretty colourful, and there'll probably be the majority of that will be straight over onto Patreon. So $5 a month, guys. All of these links, everything to find it will be on our socials. So might even have like a link tree in there so you can click and you have everything on there. I think that's probably all of the paperwork side. Like, this is how technical we are here at the 2 Pelicans, guys. Look at that, colour coded. Like, there's no secrets here. Nick, I think it's probably time to actually just quickly. the length of our episodes, maybe we'll just let the viewers in on that.
Yeah, look, I think, we would like to see somewhere probably just under an hour.
Yep.
This first one actually might be just a little bit short because we're going to talk a little bit, I guess, how we know each other.
Correct.
Which we don't want to bore you with that for too much longer, but obviously in episodes to come where we've got to punch on some hard topics, we'll probably get in, around that
45 minutes to an hour, I think. And I think the general census is most people, every time you jump in the car, for whatever reason, you're either going half an hour somewhere
100%.
or an hour somewhere. So if you're half an hour, you listen to half there and half the way back, or an hour, you knock over an episode. I think, like Mick said, this episode's definitely not going to reach the 45 minutes because you don't want to hear about all of our tall tales. There's plenty of other turkeys standing over here that'll probably share some of those. But let's dive in, Mick. Mick, before we talk about how we actually know each other, who is Mick? Who is Mick? What's he do?
I guess, good question. So I guess if we're going to just strip it right back, look, my name's Mick Corbett. Been in Grafton, up the coast, wherever.
He gets around.
I've got 3 kids. Strangely, one is about to turn 18 next week. The second one's 10 and the third one's 6. And fundamentally, I think since I can remember, I've been fishing. I've been fishing with my father on the Clarence River here. I love the Clarence. I had to come back because I can't go without it. So I was up the coast for a bit, but my life evolves around this river. It's really important, this river, to me. So.
And that's not just a tournament point of view either, Mick. That's just going out on the weekend with your kids and taking them fishing, hey?
It's everything. So it's from fishing, it's from going down, having a muck around, swim at Whiten Beach.
Yeah.
When you talk about fishing, this river is quite diverse.
It's got it all, doesn't it?
It does. Like I used to take my young fella, which is over there, when he was yay high. We'd just go fishing with garfish with floats, stuff like that. It's not a river that's overcrowded. It's not a metropolitan area. I just love it. So
and it's got good pubs,
mate. Mad pubs, mad.
But name a place, like just off topic. I know I'm cutting into all about Mick, but name a place where there's so many pubs along the river.
No, it's good. We've actually done a few pub runs in the boat, so don't tell Maritime, but it's been really good.
That might be on Patreon. But like you said, Mick, you can go out for a day out. That's why you love this place. You pull up out the back here, have a feed here at Clarkie's Pub, and it's just a special place of the world.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and I guess the other side of that is that I enjoy the tournament fishing. Currently at the moment I'm boatless. And hopefully...
Shout out to any boat sponsors.
But no, honestly, that boat's about to get us... I think it's about to start getting built around about the second week of
hear a little
June.
whisper. And that's definitely probably, if Mick's comfortable, that's something that we're probably going to let you guys in on along the journey. Some more updates, etc. Because... I know now, like, if I was going to get a new boat, I want to hear, like, a story if I was looking into that boat, follow a story on YouTube or whatever the build. So that definitely because some extra content there for us, for sure.
Yeah. And what about you, Joe?
So, for those that don't know me, I'm Joey, just based up the road in Casino, and I'm the owner, sole operator at Jollop Lures, Jollop Timber Lures. So... That's basically me, much like Mick. I grew up in a similar area. I spent a lot of time here in the Clarence River, so this place is pretty close to me as well. I live just right next to this turkey for a little bit, and which we'll get into. But man, I love fishing.
Pelican, not
Pelican,
turkey.
not turkey. Yes, not the two turkeys. Look, I just love fishing, and I think for me now, like once you have kids, you realise catching a fish is like, who gives a shit? If I take my young bloke and he hooks a brim and it busts him off or something, he's got a smile on his dial, he doesn't care, and that's really going to be a backbone of this podcast, is like kids fishing. Like we need to do what we can. Like the more kids that are fishing, the more people that are on our side and not on that other coloured side. Because I want my kids, his kids and their kids to be able to do what we do. Like Mick, I love tournaments. I've fished tournaments for, 15 or 16 years. Don't tell Morgo, but I think I fished my first one, I wasn't actually 16. So,
and you come second once.
Yeah, I won a stack, but that one that hurts, I come second that time. I'm sure that'll come up at some point, but for me now, tournaments isn't a priority, and that's taken absolutely nothing away from fishing tournaments. I had a really dear friend of mine say to me one day, I was sort of under the pump, and Had my fingers in too many pies, if that's an answer, and a few more Pelicans rolling in here now, and I had my fingers in too many pies, Mick. And my close friend, he said to me, he said, Joey, he goes, you need to do what benefits your family the most.
Yeah.
He said, take out what doesn't benefit your family. And I'm sorry, but travelling thousands of kilometres by yourself, costing your family money, wasn't what was going to benefit my family. So in turn, I've stepped away from tournaments. I was running tournaments for a long time as well. But I'm sure we can dive into that at a later time. But for me now, I sit in the shed, I make lures, and I go fishing whenever the bloody hell I want to. And I think it's going to be a really good duo for this. I think it's going to work because I do a bit of everything. There's not sort of anything. Mick's right into that brim stuff. He's pretty well into that. I can't remember the last time I tried a brim lure on. So it's definitely going to work. But anyway, that's me. That's me. So Mick, let's dive in. How the bloody hell do we know each other, and how the bloody hell are we sitting here together?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question, and I'm trying to think when I first met you. Would you have been not 21?
No, I was 18.
18,
I was just 18. Yeah.
There you go. Right. So I think we first met. So Joey actually worked at Big River Bait and Tackle, which Paul Neller owned, and subsequently Paul lived next door to me. So. Paul and Cheryl were great neighbours, but they had this one dog. It was called Buster. I will never forget it. But that one day, when they went out at night time, because Paul didn't mind the live music scene, let's just say Buster just let me know that he was just out and about.
And can I tell you something? Buster is still kicking. I only spoke to Buster the other day.
Sure, well, no.
Buster is alive and well.
Make him like 20.
He is alive and well. We might check that, but
might be Buster 2.0.
But yeah, so basically I'd hang around Paul's place, you know, for those that don't know who Paul Neller is, previously Deception Lures, now Neller Lures, really an iconic man in his own right, very talented woodworker, and like Mick mentioned, he was a very talented musician as such as building musical instruments, guitars. So yeah, I spent a lot of time around there and then got to know this Pelican, and I never forget Mick said, hey, do you want to come and play cricket? And that was it.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. We actually played for this exactly a
we
played reserve grade for the Brushgrove Hotel, and yet again, that's why we're here. Like we have a lot to do with this place, and it's been we've had some pretty loose nights in this place.
Yeah. I think one day there, because you know one of the rules were that you couldn't turn up to cricket sober. So I think Joey back then was rum your weapon of choice.
I was the rum pig.
Yeah. So anyhow, and then he sort of halfway got there, and he's like, my shoes are falling apart. And I'm like, oh, what are we going to do? So we put duct tape on his shoes, which fixed the problem, but he's wrapped it all the way around, and. Worst part about that was he's come into bowl and he's slipped over. Which I was excited
about. I was really excited that I actually got called up to do something.
Yeah, it slipped over, and I think you buggered your knee there for a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I fell onto the stumps, and I think we were playing the bottom pub, McLean, and they just thought it was hilarious. Everyone thought it was just a big stitch up. And
And I think actually one thing that I'm going to mention is that everyone calls you Joey or whatever, but in the little cricket community and to myself, you've always been called Jojo.
Jojo. It's always been Jojo. You were the only crew that always called me Jojo.
Yep. So I guess if you see Joey from now on, if you say Jojo, we've known that you've watched this.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Or I used to play cricket with you. Or you saw me at the Brushgrove Hotel, 5 parts pissed.
100%. Yeah.
But so that was sort of our weekends, Mick. We'd get on the beers Friday night.
Yep.
Mick would pick me up or come and knock on my door and say, get the hell out of bed. I'd climb in the car, we'd go to cricket, you'd drink all Saturday night, and you'd go fishing on a Sunday. You know? And that, like, I think there's not enough emphasis on that now. Everyone's so uptight. Like, if they knew half the shit we did back then at tournaments and stuff, it'd blow these people's minds.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying dangerous out there stuff that we should have gone to jail for, but I mean, like, maybe sometimes. But there's just so many things, you know, but we weren't doing the wrong thing. We were just living our life and having an absolutely good time. And I think, like, by trying to explain this and tell these stories, you know, it's a lot relatable to people. And if we can encourage one bloke to go out and have a good time, well, our job's done, you know. That's all we need.
100%. So anyhow, so Joey and I started playing cricket, and then we started jumping in the boat together, and then I think we fished a few local Clarence Valley sports fishing rounds. I think you had 1 or 2 years with a pretty talented fishing down here, fisherman by the name of Rookie.
Yes, which I'd love to get on the show at some point, yeah.
And then I think eventually you and I ended up jumping in a boat together.
Yeah, so it was me and Rookie, you and Steve-O, and we travelled together. Like, we went everywhere together and did everything together. And then sort of Rookie got to the point, and Steve-O got to the point where, F this, you know, like, we don't really want to do it anymore, haven't got the drive. So we jumped in. And I'll never forget this. I haven't even run this one past you. I'll never ever forget this. I said to Mick, Mum said to me that if we call it Team Casino Outdoors, she'll be the sponsor, you know, like she'll pay an entry fee each round. And there was a silence, and Mick said to me, he said, if your mum's going to pay the entry fee, you can call us 2 cocks a sucking for all I care. That was your exact words.
Yep.
And that was it. That was Team Casino Outdoor and Disposal. And for those people that don't know or don't remember, Gamakatsu froggies imported by Froggies Offshore, and this is our opinion, this is taking nothing away from now. But as far as teams events in Brim, they were pinnacle. Like, we were getting
100%.
60 to 70 boats, and I mean talented things. Like, we've got the Steve Eldreds there, the Timmy Morgans were there, you know. Back then, a lot of those guys were associated with Atomic, Froggies Offshore. There was a really, really solid crew of anglers there.
And I think it was well run as well. I mean, they had a trailer, screens are up, showing your score. The technology at its time was probably years in front of it, really. It probably was.
And look, this is nothing against Michael Starkey, but money probably wasn't an issue to him at the time, and he went all in, and good on him. Like, he really changed that Team Brim series, I believe, for that era. And era-wise, guys, we're talking like 15, 16 years ago. About that sort of era. That's when they would have started. So we were fishing sort of 12 to 13 years ago. So that's sort of era we're talking about. And they were at the pinnacle. They were an amazing tournament. So we butted heads together, and we did pretty damn good. We were pretty competitive.
Yeah, I think 1 year there, I think we come third in Team of the Year.
I thought it might have been second.
Second? I don't know.
I think it was the year at the Clarence, and I'm pretty sure, beer man, we'll just signaling our little beer deliver over here. I think what happened was our other locals, Finney, might have pipped us, and then that might have got us not enough points, and I think then we might have got second place. So we were definitely up there. Probably no way of checking that.
The Gamma guys are pretty good. Like, so I guess like the guys of likes of Eldred and Wishy. They were always at the top, and I felt like we probably come third, and shout out to I guess there was one grand final we went to where Finney and Renton Smith actually won that Gamakatsu grand final.
Foster, in the lake.
Yes, in the lake. So,
and if I actually remember correctly, they may have actually called us into the lake on the second day.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that too. So.
I wouldn't have vaguely remembered it from the night before.
Are we going to dive into that? Foster was a bit of a journey for us. We might touch on that in a later episode. There's a lot to unpack there. Look, over the years, guys, we've travelled pretty well a fair chunk of the state, and obviously Queensland brim fishing together. At the time, we knew the ins and outs of each other, and why not put all those years of tales? And let me tell you, there is some tales. Why not put all that together? And that's I guess that's the crux of how this has all come about, mate. No,
100%. So we did that for a bit, and then essentially you moved up the coast for a bit, and then we sort of stepped away from that sort of fishing scene a little bit, and then I guess over time we've sort of just come back and here we are now.
Yeah, like a high tide, it eventually gets back to the mangroves, and that's basically what's happened, you know. I think it's a good one, guys. If there's anyone listening and there's a mate that you might not have heard from in a bit, give him a ring, you know. And that's basically what happened to Mick and I. Like, it's not that we lost touch with each other. Like, if we'd met, it was like mates, you'd never left each other sort of thing. But life gets in the way. Lots of kids in between for both
kids, sports, kids sports,
weddings, you name it, everything. It's just life's busy. And now here we are, and if that's something you get out of today's episode, if you're a new listener, like obviously it's the first episode, but if you never heard us before and you listen along, just give your mate a call, you know, like it might be someone, you never know, you might be sitting here doing a podcast together with. So I think that wraps up pretty well us. We're just going to get a quick little beer delivery here, guys.
Yeah, there we go.
Cheers, sleep. And this man's probably going to make an appearance here in a little bit as well if we make to episode 3. But Mick, I think that's pretty well it. I think we might dive into the last bit of this show, which is going to be our calls. We have a couple of calls here, guys, which are going to be pretty damn good. So we're just going to quickly go to the toilet. We're going to have a quick break and we're going to come straight back and finish this show off.
Yep.
Alrighty, guys, we are back here. The 2 Pelicans are back. We've had our little leak break and we are back now. This is how high tech we are, right? We haven't got the fancy big Rode microphones. Listen to our yarns. We've got, I don't know what Mick's got a government issue.
Yeah. Don't tell anyone.
A government issue headset. Mate, I've got a Cairns 1995 airport special here. But anyway, we are going to drop in some yarns here, guys. These are from our mates. As I said, we put a little feelers out and we just wanted to... just some yarns about us just to let you guys sort of know what we're all about. So I just realised I'm waving my hands around like a ninja here. We probably need to stop that. But if you want to see me being a ninja, head
no one's going to see it. No one's going to see it on Spotify.
No one's going to see it on Spotify. Well, see, I'm trying to drum up business for Patreon. Come over to Patreon and see the ninja.
Is this like you got in a fucking 737 Boeing plane in or something there? It's like
looks like I'm a ninja. Anyway, right, let's dive into yarn 1. This is one of our local boys here. Let's dive into this right now.
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
Good, mate.
I've got a story for young Joe. I was going back about 12, 13 years ago. We're doing the Gimigatsu team series when it was in its absolute prime.
Yeah. There you go.
And down at Port Macquarie. So we've done a pre-fish, and we're all back at this camp that we were staying at. And Joe's sitting there. He's got a tray of treble hooks on his lap. And he's redoing all his treble
doing it, didn't he?
I did do that.
In the day's pre-fish. And for those who don't know, Joe is absolutely shit scared of green tree frogs.
True story.
And I thought, oh, good idea, I'll play a joke on this little clown. So I went and grabbed a paper towel, wet it up, and I've snuck up behind him when he was concentrating, and I've gone and shoved it on his neck, and I've done this green frog noise, and he has absolutely shit himself. The freaking tray's gone flying in the air, 1,000 treble hooks and split rings just gone all over the carpet where he was sitting down. I thought, what have we done? So anyway, the joke was good, but not so good. We had such a mess to clean up.
Joke's on you,
so
pal.
Anyway, fast forward 12 months, I've rung up this same place for accommodation again, and got the bloke and said, I'd like to rebook again that same area we had. And he goes, oh yeah, I remember you blokes. I was like, oh, you do, yeah? I said, yeah. He said, I got a treble hook in my big toe because of you.
No.
So then I had to sort of do a quick backpedal and go, one of the blokes, he accidentally dropped a packet of treble hooks, and we did our best to pick them up. So unbeknownst to him, Joe had a little moment and made a hell of a mess. So got out of that one all right. But for those who don't know, young Joey don't like green tree frogs.
So that's from our mate Duffy. Really appreciate that, Duff.
Thanks, Duff, man.
Mick actually hadn't heard that one. I'd actually, I had to have a bit of a listen, just to double check some of these yarns. But the best part about that story is it's 100% true. But I didn't know about the ending. I didn't know about the big toe.
Do you reckon he would have used the fishing line trick to get the treble hook out?
I remember what that guy looked like, and I reckon he used the end of a long neck to his stubby, I reckon.
he would have been over 100 kilo, that fella. He would have kicked it fair into his toe. The treble would have went straight through.
When I listened to that, I was wetting myself. And I rang Duffy, and I was like, did that really happen? So he goes, mate was not impressed. I was like, I didn't even know about that part. So, mate, this is really cool for us as well to hear.
Now, that was some sort of retreat out near Wallhope, I think, from memory, because I remember staying there once as well.
Wasn't it like in the back of a train station? It was a wild little setup.
But what was good about it was that we could all just leave the boats hooked up, and there was ample amount of room to park up and camp and sleep, and they had their own little sleeping quarters. It was really good. And
look, talking about the Gamma series, you mentioned the Gamma series was in its prime. Like, when you say we all camped there, like there was probably 30 of us there. It was like a bunkhouse thing, and they all like in a lot together. Yeah. And you sort of all met in the middle and then went back to your dorms. So and this is what I mean, like everyone hung out. It was such a fun thing, and shit like that happened. It was friggin' hilarious.
I think I remember there one time, I think Big T and Finney had a disagreement about some sort of fishing technique, so...
there was a bit of a blow up there one night, and Finney, definitely want to get Big Finney on the show one day.
Yeah, we should. Well.
Look, these are all our mates. This is who we've grown up with fishing, and let me tell you, it just is a good time. So, all right, that was an absolutely cracking yarn there. Big shout out to Duffy, and I reckon he might be a bit of a regular on the show because he has got some yarns, that man. All right. I'm going to say who this next one's about. Maybe we'll play the...
Play it first. And we'll...
all right, let's dive into this next yarn here. Bit of technology delay here. Rightio, let's hit it.
Yeah, g'day. I've got a few.
We love a good yarn.
This is the first one I got to share with you.
First one?
This is bad.
A while ago now, I was back in the day there. I didn't earn too much coin. I'm
Join the
about
club.
to say now these days, but that's another story.
Yeah.
It costs a living. But
Talk about that.
I went fishing out the Gold Coast there at the Seaway. It was in about
Seaway.
40 fathoms of water. In those days, I was fishing with me mate. He was probably the smallest tinny in the deepest, furthest out on the day. And we're catching the snapper and having a good time. And Paternoster rig, we're bloody waiting for the second one to get on before winding up in that deep of water. You know how it's like. Anyway, we got a good bag full, and we're on our way back in. And you see off the side on the horizon this big ass boat cruising straight towards us. And we're almost at the 2 nautical mile mark. And by the time we just hit the 2 nautical mile mark, this boat's rocked up, end up being the bloody coppers, the water police.
Yep.
And so my mate driving, he's freaking out because he realised his flares are out today. And
Sounds about right.
so he keeps chugging it, trying to outrun the coppers.
What a man.
Yeah.
And I think
Good
we
bloke.
might have just got to it, or might have just been outside 2 nautical miles. Well, you obviously need that.
Yeah.
And they pull up alongside us, and then all of a sudden, your mate's getting absolutely torn to pieces up the front by the bloke.
Yep.
And there's this sexy copper at the back, which I couldn't help myself but try and turn her up. And my poor fella at the front, while he's getting torn a new arsehole grabbing out of date flares, I managed to get this Sheila's number out to sea and go and have a good time with her a bit later on. So not only did I get a bloody feed full of bloody snapper, I picked up a new Sheila out to sea. I thought, what a bloody good day this was for me at least. Unlike my other mate who ended up getting fined, I couldn't be happier.
Oh, mate. Now, all right, headphones off. That's the last yarn. That is an absolutely cracking yarn. And that's the sort of stuff we want to hear from you guys. Now, Mick, I've got a kind of funny feeling. Was he talking about you being the bloke at the front of the boat?
Yeah, so thanks, Slick. So we've gone out to see off the Gold Coast there, and you know, it was a cracking day. It was flat, so I think we went out to 40 fathoms or something like that. And we're fishing like 240 foot of water. I don't know if that's right. And
We'll go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. And long story short, we had a good time. We bagged out on snapper. I think we caught, I don't know what else we caught. We did catch, we caught a couple of little pearlies there or whatever, but anyhow, look, we had a really, really good day. And it was one of them days where you can just open your boat up full throttle and just drive back in flat. So anyhow, we're just running back in, and so I'm going back in, and on the horizon, I sort of looked out to the left of my shoulder, and I was in a tiller steer sort of thing there at the moment. He's like, oh, geez, that looks like Marathon or Police or something. I thought, fuck, I better keep going, eh? Anyhow, so I've just held her flat, and I reckon I got, I don't know, probably about 4 nautical miles, and they've sort of just come and put the sirens on and all the rest of it, you know what I mean? I thought, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, well look, at the time, I actually didn't know about the flares, so anyhow, so, you know, we've done all the safety thing, we went through everything, you know, life jacket, flares, radio, anchor, bucket, all that kind of jazz. And anyhow, he goes, oh, can I check your flares? And I'm like, yeah. Anyhow,
Of course you can, mate.
as I've got them out, I've looked at the date. I had good eyesight when I was about 20 odd, and I'm like, oh, fuck, they're out of date. Anyhow, I gave it to him, and while this was happening, mate's down the back there. Because so what happens was the boat's turned up, she's holding the front, the back of it, and the other bloke's holding the front, and I'm dealing with the bloke up the front. And anyhow, he's there, and you know, she was pretty attractive lady that's helping out, and You know, Slick was really excited, and he was having a great old yarn.
He did not give a shit about poor old Miko.
Yeah. Anyhow, our mate's just gone, oh, sorry, mate, I've got to issue an infringement notice. And I think it was around about $150. I'm like...
And at that time, guys, like we're talking only 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years.
20 odd years ago, like, that's a lot of money.
That was a lot of money. And you know, like we sort of lived off 2-minute noodles there, sort of growing up. And at that time, you know, and the worst part was he's just end up with his number and he's like fucking cheering and carrying on. I'm thinking like, man, I'm going to have to get like home brand noodles for the next week or so. I thought, fuck this. Anyhow.
That's great, mate. That's unreal.
Yeah.
And that's,
thanks, Luke.
and guys, message in your maritime fuck-ups. Like, that time you had something and the maritime went through. We'll talk about boating fails. Or you can ring up your boating fails now if you want. But tell us your maritime bugger-ups. Because let me tell you, if you weapons are going to call in with a few, I have got 3 off the top of my head that I could drop right now that probably blow through most people's minds. One in particular. But yeah, definitely let us know those guys. And really big shout out to Duffy and Slick.
No, thanks for that.
As we said, guys, we didn't have anything for this episode, and we wanted to let you guys see a full episode of what was to expect. So anyway, guys, I think we're going to wrap this episode up. I think that's enough of us dribbling. We're going to get straight into episode 2 while we're here. So that's going to drop in the next week or so after this one. Like I said, want to ring up, you want to send in a voice recording. If you don't know how to do it, mate, just holding your Siri button and say, hey Siri, find voice recorder on your phone.
There's probably something on YouTube, isn't there?
Yeah, there'll be a YouTube thing about it. It's super simple, and you literally send it straight to the email. Email is 2 pelicans_podcast@gmail.com. If you're not sure about that, head over to our socials, Insta, Facebook 2 Pelicans Podcast with the 2. Now, I'm sure it'll still come up, but on Patreon, Patreon will not let you use numbers. Hates numbers. Patreon doesn't like swear. It loves swearing, but hates numbers. So it's just TWO Pelicans Podcast. But even if you typed in a 2, I'm sure there's not another Pelicans podcast out there. Probably should have checked that anyway. But anyway,
we're being cloned.
We're being cloned. So guys, that's where to find us. I really appreciate everyone that's tuned in to listen to this. We will appreciate the support, but from the bottom of our hearts, I know I'm speaking on behalf of Mick, but we're going to give this everything. We're pretty serious about this. We've thought about it. We're not rushed into it. Well, it's happened kind of quick in the last month or so, but the idea's been there.
I think, I think fundamentally the idea's been sitting in, I think, the back of our minds for at least 12 months or so. So let's just see where this takes us.
Yep. Well, that's the 2 Pelicans signing out. I'm Joey.
I'm Mick.
We'll catch you next week.
Hooroo.